Goodness me, we're back. What's next? It's Indy Next here from Road America, one of my home tracks here in the state of Wisconsin. We've got Andre Castro already in the wall. We're in for a good one. Grab yourself a cold adult beverage and a big old block of cheese and a bratwurst. We're here in the backwoods, if you will. Sheboygan County, you could see the kart track off in the distance there, the 4-mile full race course here as well. We'll get timing and scoring up on the screen so everybody can follow along here with what we've got going on here tonight. Looking forward to a season and year opener here for the Indy NXT Series. And we'll hop into qualifying here shortly. Cars will be taken to the track rather quickly as it is a relatively long lap here. We're going to hop out here with, how about my buddy Jason Miller 19, as he's labeled in the sim. Had a great race with him a number of seasons ago in the USF 2000s at Laguna Seca. We'll ride outboard with the drive of our 10 machine here tonight. And we are off with him out of the pit lane, heading down towards turn number 3. Road America has a funky way of naming or numbering their corners here. We'll head through the Moraine sweep down towards turn number 5. Of course, that 90-degree left-hander at the bottom of the hill here. Can't really see it until right about here. We'll head off into that corner. Nice and tidy here from Mr. Miller. Of course, he shares a surname with one of the many brewing companies in the state of Wisconsin. I believe their headquarters is right across the street of the famous headquarters of Harley-Davidson Motor Company. Last I call. Not sure if that's their corporate headquarters, but it's a significant building for them over at Miller. Indy's going to try his best to survive. We hope you survive as well. Of course, the Indy NXT Oval Series champion from last season back here on the Twisties. We'll see if he can wheel his number 9 machine to a good result tonight. Number of familiar faces from last season making some returns. We see Andre Castro and Jarrett Corey in our 1 and 2 machines tonight, alongside the likes of Rogue Racing's Hunter Engrave making a debut here on the next broadcasts here on the channel. Ty Keela, his teammate, doing the same. We're rounding turn 14. Heading up the front straightaway. It is a very significant rise down the front straightaway here at Road America. Miller is going to take the green flag for his first of 2 flying laps here tonight. Of course, this track is measured at 4.048 miles, given the t-shirt you could buy at the paddock shop here at Road America. Very long, winding track here through the Elkhart Lake countryside. Of course, we'll head under this Sargento Bridge back towards turn number 5 here. This track does host Indy NXT, along with the main IndyCar Series, alongside the entire slew of Road to Indy cars, all the way down to the recently introduced in the last 5 years or so USF Juniors here at Road America throughout the calendar year. It's been a mainstay for American open wheel racing about as long as you can think at this point. Of course, IndyCar making their return to the venue in 2016. Numbered at 14 corners, despite who you may argue with as to how many are actually here. The Canada corner here, turn number 12. We'll head through Bill Mitchell Bend, which I've discovered is not labeled on the iRacing track map as such. That's what is labeled as turn 13 here. We'll head towards 14. Jarrett Corey with so far the fastest lap thus far. 150.178 as it stands. See what our onboard shot with Mr. Miller yields us here. Looks like that's going to be good for a 152.2. Currently sets him 7th on the board. We'll ride around here one more time. We'll actually ride from the outset of Mr. Miller here as he works through 4 miles. Actually, there we go. Speak of the devil, he's got the Miller Genuine Draft Scheme on his IL-15 here tonight. So maybe he's just as much of a Miller fan as many fans here would be at Road America, given it is a local business establishment, local business, as much as a very large brewery can be. Of course, those colors sporting many an automobile across both stock cars and open-wheel machinery. I believe that's an old Bobby Rahal scheme, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong on that. I know he had one of the many Miller beer cars at a point in time. He'll head down through towards Canada Corner once more, around that 12th corner. Are we going to set the pole speed once more? We'll see if anybody has an answer for him tonight. We've got 2 minutes left in qualifying here. Road America being a very diverse motorsports facility, it does have that kart track, but the biggest notable thing about that kart track, for those not aware, is that it originally was constructed by, or had a big part played in it by Briggs & Stratton, another local Wisconsin business here that sponsors the Motorplex, as they call it. Hosts a number of different track types. The main one is, I believe they've got a scale drag strip that utilizes the pit lane portion of the road course / oval they've got. If you look at the track map, if we get to it at any point in time, you see it. They've got an oval at the bottom of the hill at that kart track there. That's an oval. They've got the drag strip, and then they've got multiple different configurations of that road course. They also use it for, I believe, some form of not supercross, but the mixed terrain motorcycle racing. The name immediately eludes me right now, but there is a dirt section at the top of that track. There used to also, likewise, and there may still be traces of it here. Oh, there's Dale Jr. He's at the Lions Club. Look at that. Distracted. There is a dirt section, I believe, just outside of turn number 3 to the inside of the track that was also used for mixed surface bike racing at a point in time. 25 seconds remain in qualifying. We've got 15 cars of what appears to be 19 starters here tonight, having already taken time. Looks like there's a couple drivers that will not get the opportunity to do so unless they are out on the course. We will see. Of course, Road America originally was constructed to take place of the street courses that were commonly used prior to its construction. And we're going to have ourselves a starting grid. We can get back to the history lessons later. So, on the pole tonight will be Jarrett Corey in the number 2 machine, the driver that ultimately wound up second in last season's points championship. Will roll off first here tonight with a 150.164. Alongside him will be Andre Castro, winner at some point during the last inaugural season for this car on the road courses. He'll start in second. Julian Ditchburn will roll off third of the 13. Rogue Racing's Hunter Engrav will roll off from fourth. Morgan McMullen will roll off fifth alongside Rogue Racing's Ty Keela. Chico Bala will be seventh alongside Gerard Wakefield in the number 12 machine. Gabriel Estelian will be rolling off ninth with Jason Miller, who we rode on board with qualifying, rolling off 10th. Move just past that. We'll get to 11th through 19th. Joseph Blamo will roll off from that 11th spot. Michael Greenberg will be 12th. Chris Fletcher will roll off 13th. I believe he's made a number of appearances here on the P1 channel mainly in the Oval Series for Indy NXT. He'll be alongside Indy Kirkwood, the prodigy, the Indy NXT Oval Series champion from last season, will roll off 14th. Jake Gortson will roll off 15th in the number 8. Jacob Obuslak will be 16th. Matai Kunial will be 17th. Franco Machini will be 18th. And Andrew Allen will round out the 19-car field. I believe that is also a Lucky Charms livery, much like Ty Keela further up the grid has. Seems to be quite the popular one for the Lucky Charms design. It will be 11 laps here from Road America. Get the grid music out of the way here. $11 laps here on offer tonight. Of course, 10 of those will be allowed with push to pass. 150 seconds of available push to pass. We'll get that number quickly up on the screen here for everybody to see. Every driver sitting on 150. That's what they start with. They'll have 10 laps to use it all up. Just one straightaway. We're going to take the big ones as the straightaway here when I say this. Is all 15 seconds that they would average a lap. Or they could spread evenly across the laps. So it's unlikely we'll see drivers hamming push to pass down an entire straightaway. They're likely going to use it as kind of a get me out of this corner now situation to get them in the draft of a car ahead and not much more. Imagine that's going to be the bulk of how we see it be used. But, of course, stranger things can and will happen here in Indy NXT competition. We've seen a number of situations already play out last season, of course, at the likes of the Red Bull Ring and Sebring, in which drivers would run out of that push to pass early and turn into sitting ducks to the cars behind them that were able to get by them with the button on. I believe Castro's sporting a new scheme here. He's got the Guinness colors this time out. I believe he was in one of the many default paint schemes last time we saw him. Good to see he's willing to drive this car enough to get a proper scheme on it. I suppose he is in beer country to some extent. Of course, Jarrett in the Andretti-inspired livery. The Colton Herta car, the Will Power car, whatever it winds up being, it's made its mark here already in Indy NXT competition with Corey at the wheel. Of course, we've got an all-black machine for Ditchburn in the third spot. Hunter Engrav, I believe, has proper colors on his machine. Full 4-mile pace lap here. It's, I believe, the longest one in iRacing, given its start point, 4 miles plus. I believe there's very few tracks that could rival just how long a pace lap is here, barring maybe new additions such as the Bend. I believe the Bend, in its full configuration, may come close, although I believe that's a shortened one. But it's been a couple weeks since I've been to the Bend. Working their way towards Canada Corner, named as such due to a large abundance of, I believe, beer bottles or alcoholic beverages, whatever you'd like to call them. Canada Dry, maybe? I don't remember. Large number of cans that said Canada on them. That's how it got that name, as far as I'm aware. That could just be the word on the street. Of course, attendees here do know how to have a good time. They'll work their way through turn number 14. The pace car will pull off very shortly thereafter. And we'll be ready to go to unleash 19 IL-15s on this 4-mile course. You want what's next? Here it is. Indy NXT at Road America. Here we go.
Green flag, green flag.
Corey with the early lead. Castro will hop immediately into the tow behind. We're still 2 by 2 partway through the rest of the field. So far, so good. We'll see if everybody makes it on through here. I don't believe we have any cars off. There's a bit of gravel being kicked up in the back portion of the field, but it seems everybody's made it through clean. We'll stay at the front as it stands. We'll maybe hop back to Engrav rolling in the third spot as he kind of leads the rest of the field here. got an all-black car, it looks like. I had ditch burn and then grab backwards. Gonna go 2x2 heading off into turn 5 for Keela and friends. Looks like Ty's gonna get the better of McMullen there. They're gonna work their way through 6, head up the hill, back down the hill towards turn 7, and then head their way towards what I call the Don't Panic corner in turn 8. We're gonna make it on through there. Head towards the iconic carousel. This does descend. It's a bit deceptive to look at it from this angle, but it does drop down as drivers continue kind of their way down the hill here, heading off towards the kink. Of course, flat foot, big measure of how much downforce you have or do not have through that fast right-hander, heading down through 11A and B towards turn number 12. Ty Keela still having to defend off McMullen off through Canada corner there. He's going to head through turn 14 and up the hill once more. That'll do us one lap here from Road America. Strength of field was just over 3,000. I believe it was 3,098. Double check that number here very shortly. $3,094, my apologies. Regardless, we've got ourselves quite a sizable grid here tonight. Maximum number of cars we can field here in Indy Next Road is 24, so having 19 is not too shabby of a field. I believe it was 3 splits here for this field tonight. No deaths yet, as far as I can tell. We have not needed to call the tow vehicle to escort broken automobiles from the premises. Hopefully, many races like that will play out that way this season, especially through the opening stages. McMullen's going to make the pass on, I believe that's Gerard Wakefield, just off in the distance there. He's going to hold on to the 6th spot. I believe the closest battle on track now will be actually in the neighborhood of Jason Miller, just at the tail end of the top 10. We'll hop to that. Actually, I guess it would be Gerard. We'll stay with this battle for the 6th spot, as Jarrett Corey has begun to stretch his legs ever so slightly over Castro. Gaps around half a second. We'll see if Castro can reel his way back in, especially... Oh! That's Wakefield in the wall. Got loose off the kink, and that's likely night done for him. Not sure if he got help there or not. We'll run it back real quickly here. Does look like we'll have to get the camera caught back up a little further than what we got here. So we're heading through the kink. Slow this down just a little bit here. So he's going to come through. Head over. I think he got loose on his own there. He catches it right, catches it left, and fortunately does not make contact with McMullen ahead. But tough break for the driver of the number 12 machine. I believe we've also got Indy Kirkenbauer down the pit lane. Not entirely sure what happened to him. Likely another incident somewhere on the course. Not sure if maybe he got caught up with Wakefield later on. We're working lap 3. Jarrett Corey is your leader. Started from the pole. He's about a half-second gap to Andre Castro in the 2nd spot. Hunter Engrav rolls off 3rd. Cars 2, 1, and 3, respectively. Ditchburn has held on to the 4th spot. Ty Keela's just behind that. We'll get to gaps showing up on your screen here to get a better idea of where the battles are brewing. It looks like McMullen on Keela is going to be the next battle, as it looks like that might have resolved itself as Ty Keela's gone off. I believe that's going to be at least turn 6 there. Indy reporting in from the pit lane that he self-spun. He can't figure the track out. It's a tricky one. You'd think looking at the track map, boy howdy, that looks like an awful lot of straightaways and not a whole lot of corners. But every single corner here is so tricky, and despite what it might look like, they're all very distinct from one another. You're either coming at them from a different angle with the elevation, you're coming at a different angle from relative to the previous corner you just ran through. Very, very tricky to get around here at Road America, and that's what's made it such an iconic venue here in the United States over the course of its history. Chris Fletcher fans in the house. Good to see the fan club making its return for the start of this season. Chris currently runs in the 13th spot in his number 17 machine. We'll actually hop with him as he's just ahead of Ty Keela, who we saw go off a little earlier there, the Lucky Charms car there. He's looking to hunt down Jake Gordson for 12th. See if these drivers can make their way back forward through the field. Very, very tricky track here, especially in this car. Talk very heavily about how this car has a good bit of power. It's a turbocharged 4-cylinder and has a very, very aggressive on-throttle feeling. You kind of get a good bit of wheel spin if you punch above about 70 or 80% throttle input fairly easily, and it's very easy to send this car wide on the brakes or on the throttle, just getting a little too eager beavers. We see Mr. Keela once more taking that inside route, hopping up over the curb, and he's going to lose that spot to Fletcher that he just tried to make. Couple cars running wide through turn 7 here. Hop back a bit further up the field now. So it looks like the... Oh! Thought Ty was going to make a move here heading towards turn number 8. We'll move a bit further up the field to Jason Miller, who's made his way up to the 6th spot. He's kept his car pointed the right way so far here tonight. So we're working lap number 4. He's hunting down Chico Bala for the bottom portion of the top 5. It's likely as far as he's going to be able to make up here tonight. Been a tire noise heading through turn 14 as Miller's going to get looked on by Matty Kunal for 6th. Give that spot to Kunal. We'll see if Miller's got anything to say before turn number 1 here. Of course, this straightaway very, very long. Gives you an opportunity to potentially set up a pass back, but not quite for Mr. Miller here. And we'll ride on board with McMullen, who's at the tail end of this line here for the rest of this lap to get an idea of what these drivers are experiencing, especially closer together. So he runs a little bit wide off of turn number 3 there. He'll head down towards turn number 5 under that Sargento bridge. Nice and late on the brakes there. Miller's going to run off at 5 there. That'll give the spot to McMullen. Not sure if maybe Miller misjudged the corner or locked up there, but that's going to drop him off the back of this group here. We'll see if McMullen is able to catch back up to Bala and Sunial ahead. Head towards the carousel in turns 9 and 10 under the Speedville Bridge, presented by Johnsonville, I believe. Head back around under another pedestrian bridge. They've made a number of various fan upgrades here in recent years around Road America. I believe they've had a major project this offseason in preparation for the 6-hour IMSA event that'll take place here during their next calendar year. McMullen has reeled his way back towards Bala and Sunial here ahead. We'll ride down the front straightaway with him before getting off board again. Jarrett Corey's maintained a steady gap at the front, now just under 3/4 of a second, as Sunial looks on Bala ahead here. Sunial on the push to pass there, makes it by Bala. We'll get you an update on the push to pass situation once we get outboard of McMullen here. He's going to head off into turn number 1, chasing down that Martini livery of Bala. We'll see if he can do anything as this race progresses. So let's get a look at that push-to-pass situation for everybody. Of course, that is one of the biggest tools at these drivers' disposal over the course of this race. So Corey sits on 113, DeCastro's 118. Engrav sits on 122. Ditchburn down to 67. He might be in trouble if he gets caught by these cars trailing him. Sits on 67 as Bala's going to run wide at turn number 5. That's the action corner here. Pretty much every time you come here, very, very difficult to navigate, especially in close proximity of other cars. Move McMullen up to the 6th spot. Sunial sits on 105, just ahead of McMullen we've been riding with here. Jason Miller's made it back to 8th on 97. Machini will be 9th, sitting on 85. Aselian will be 66. Blommel on 98. Gortson on 86, Keela 96, Oberslack on 112, Fletcher on 123, Greenberg 122, Allen 109, Wakefield 135, and Kirkbauer 135. I believe those last 4 machines are in the pit lane, resolving some sort of damage here so far. We're going to hop back to the front of the field as the gap has started to close between Jarrett Corey and Andre Castro and Hunter Engrav. Don't count him out. He's still within 1 second of the leader here now, heading down the front straightaway. Big opportunity for the Rogue Racing driver to maybe capitalize on any sort of mistake as we're working past the halfway mark here in tonight's event. Working lap number 7. This is your battle for the lead as it stands. I believe Ditchburn has gone off. He's falling well down the order. I have to see if that's a connection issue or if he experienced a crash there. Not seeing anything just yet regarding Ditchburn, but he is currently off the racing surface as far as I'm aware. Corey still leads here. Castro running in second. We'll run through the rest of the top 10 next time around. This track very, very tricky. Not too unlike Sebring in a lot of ways in terms of a lot of the corners being structured the way they are, albeit much smoother here than the very, very bumpy, notoriously so, Sebring International. Of course, this will be the opening night of coverage here on P1 for week number 1 of the 2026 iRacing official season. We'll move to tomorrow night, which will be the night of the ovals, if you will. We'll be taking on the double egg special. Hope you like some eggs with maybe a side of ramen as we'll get to the IndyCar Oval Series. Gary Godso on the call, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time from Gateway. Followed up by my coverage of the Indy NXT Oval Series from Motegi in Japan. The first and potentially only international round that series will experience. You don't want to miss that. That'll take place at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Then Wednesday night, Gary Godso will have the Formula Indy Series taking on the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we'll be back next week with more IndyCar and Indy NXT action from Michigan and Okayama Monday night. And Tuesday night we'll be at Homestead and the USA International Speedway, now defunct, on Tuesday night for IndyCar Oval and NXT Oval, respectively. And then it's the Christmas holiday, and we won't be back until the Monday after that. So certainly a quiet time around the holidays, but that'll kick back off at the start of the year with the likes of Dark Horse, the Votive Racing League, amongst others. I believe we're having Area 51 coverage. Join the channel on Tuesday nights, becoming the nightcap of an all-oval lineup. But we'll run your way through the rest of this field here as Jarrett Corey has started to walk away as Engrav has gotten closer to Castro here. We'll run through the rest of the field here. So we've got Mate Sunial in the 4th spot. He runs all on his lonesome ahead of Morgan McMullen in 5th. Chico Bala just behind him. He'll join the picture here. Franco Machini's just behind him. You see Jason Miller in that Miller Genuine Draft car. He runs in 8th. Gabriel Sellian will be 9th. Joseph Blommel will be 10th. Jake Gortson in 11th. Chris Fletcher in this orange machine will be 12th. Rogue Racing's Ty Keeler runs along in 13th. And Jacob Obuslak is our last car still operating out on the speedway in 14th. As we have not figured out what happened to Julian Ditchburn. But it looks like it's going to get feisty here for the 3rd spot before too long. Engrav is there. Castro has it. We'll see if they opt to fight for it or if Engrav thinks Castro can reel Corey in for him. Is ultimately a big play here. Corey sits on the least amount of push to pass of any of these drivers at the front of the field on 78. Engrav on the most on 103. So he's not spent up as much of it as this drivers ahead of him. Of course, Castro sits on only 99 comparatively, so that's not too big of a gap there. But we'll just have to see. There's obviously Good bit of time left in this race. We've still got a quarter of this race to go as we're working lap number 9 here of 12, or 11 rather. Excuse me. Working through that carousel. Gap seems to kind of expand as we get to the back half of this lap between Engrav and Castro, likely able to reel him in down these long straightaways and the front stretch. Of course, cameras tonight provided you by Whiplash. Shout out to them for giving us some nice quality shots here of this fantastic 4-mile road course here in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. The gap will start to close back up between our front three. Every driver on the push to pass off the corner. Castro's the first one to get off of it. Corey remains on it. He'll get off of it just at the start-finish line. Quite the front-running trio here. Of course, we've started hosting track guides here on the channel. If you want to potentially be up to the task of taking on the best in Indy NXT competition, we're doing our best, or well, I'm doing my best to try to get you close to that proximity. Of course, I've battled the likes of Jarrett Corey plenty of times across the road to Indy ladder. Certainly like to think I could do the same here myself, but I'm choosing to be up here in the booth and bring you all the sights and sounds of the Indy NXT Road Series. But we're also giving drivers the opportunity to maybe learn these tracks, this car, through a guided approach of working your way through the Formula Ford, the FF1600, the F4, and then obviously the Indy NXT machine, the IL15, each and every week for the Indy NXT Road Series. Of course, that is something that I hope will continue to let this series kind of prosper as we head off into the 2026 calendar year before too long. The proper one, the iRacing one's already started. Any feedback and suggestions on those is certainly welcome, but these drivers are maybe doing a better job than I ever could of showing you how to navigate the 4-mile Road America here as they head through Canada Corner once more. We'll be heading towards the final lap, I believe. We're working lap 10 here. Corey's trying to break the toe off the corner. They're all on the push to pass once more. Castro can smell it. We're working the final lap here. Castro sets the fastest lap of a 1:49.393. All over the place between Corey and Castro. One more time around. Who's going to take it? It's about a 20-second advantage on push to pass for Castro. So I bet Jarrett's going to try to conserve as much as he can for that final straightaway, knowing full well that he's going to have to potentially make a pass back, depending on where Andre decides to make his move. We're here with Hunter Engrav. He might have the best seat in the house, and we'll try to watch as Castro dives to the inside here. Corey's out wide. Bit of a moment. Contact's made. Castro holds onto it. We've got ourselves a dogfight here. Side by side into turn number 6. That's tight. They're going to work through 7 here down towards turn number 8. That panic corner. I think these drivers are starting to panic here. Corey's going to hold on to the spot for now. Navigating through the carousel. Castro still runs in second. Every driver on the push to pass heading down towards the kink. Flat foot heading down towards Canada Corner. Corey's going to take that inside line. Castro's going to take the outside. We'll see if he can make a move stick here. We're going to get awfully close together. Corey's going to get deep. He's going to run a little wide here. Castro's going to get alongside for turns 13. Long way around is very tricky around here. He holds it. Castro to the inside. It's going to be a run to the line. We'll see if Castro made his move too early or not. Here they come. Corey's going to hold on to second. Castro will take the win. We almost had 3 wide down the front straightaway for it, but here comes Sunial for 4th. McMullen will hold it over Machini for the 5th spot. We'll see Jason Miller enter the picture here very shortly. There he is. Jake Gortson, Blommel, Gabriel Lassellian, Chris Fletcher will be in 11th. He's coming down the road here with Chico Bala in tow. He must have encountered some issues at some point through this race. Ty Keela, we saw him run wide a couple times in the early stages. And Jacob Obuslak, he's still working through the back half of the course. But that was quite the finish here for Indy NXT on the road course here at Road America. We'll run you through that finishing order as soon as we get that last car across the line. Actually, we'll just start now. We'll start now. So it will be Andre Castro taking another victory here in Indy NXT competition. That driver, the number 1, showing us why he is the number 1 here tonight. He'll out-drag Jarrett Corey to the line, as will he. Hunter Engrab, the road racing driver, will round out your podium here tonight. Matti Sunial will be 4th ahead of Morgan McMullen. Franco Machini will be in 6th. Jason Miller will finish 7th in his number 10 machine. Jake Gortson will finish 8th. Joseph Blommel in 9th. Gabriel Lassellian will roll off, finishing 10th. Chris Fletcher will be 11th. Chico Bala will be 12th. Ty Keela in 13th. And Jacob Obuslak will round out the car still running. Julian Ditchburn, Michael Greenberg, Andrew Allen, Gerard Wakefield, and Indy Kirkenbauer will be out due to issues throughout this event. We will get your podium on up here. I'm sure we've got some people that would love to talk about their races here tonight. See if we can find their automobiles on the speedway. Of course, I need to find ourselves some automobiles. There we go. We found somebody's automobile. I think we're going to have to use a different camera than this one. We'll get to maybe this guy. There we go. Back this train up. Get him working this last lap in its entirety. That might give us enough time to work through there. And that'll be Hunter Engrav rounding out the bottom portion of our podium here tonight. We'll get him on up here. Hunter, Jacob Collins, P1 Broadcasting. You got me?
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, I believe this is your debut appearance here for Indy NXT here on the channel. Good to see you get a quality finish out of it. You managed to stay kind of caught up to the front 2 in Castro and Corey come the end there. It was quite the journey to get there, though. So kind of talk us through your race here tonight.
Yeah, it was my first time ever racing this car, so it was quite fun. Yeah, Ty was telling me a few things, what to do, not to do, and I'm like, all right, well, just follow along. And yeah, I was just kind of following the guys for a little bit. I was kind of playing with the tools a little bit, just trying to figure out what worked, what didn't work. And probably roughly around the last 5 laps, I got it suited fairly well. And yeah, the dirty air mind blows me how dirty air affects this car so much. But yeah, no, it was a good race. Just trying to keep my nose clean and just try to learn as much as I can from this race. And I kind of surprised myself with the pace I had.
Yeah, you kind of talked about getting the car dialed in to where you liked it. Obviously, the car very much has a good bit of progression on it with the way the tires kind of work their way up to temp and start falling off of the course of this race. Of course, we don't have the same luxury that the IndyCar does of having multiple tire compounds. And in real Indy NXT competition, they don't do tire changes at all. So it's very much a name of the game to get that tire underneath you, get your tools where you want them, and be able to hold on to a quality machine come the end of the race here. Do you have any thoughts on kind of how you had to navigate this course in general here tonight? Obviously, very tricky getting on the power and on the brakes here around this 4-mile track at Road America. But if you've got any kind of thoughts or feelings of what you did that maybe helped you towards the later stages of this race as you were figuring the car out?
Yeah, I will say it felt a lot better than the IndyCar today, for sure. But yeah, no, I was just kind of playing with the bars a little bit. I don't want to give away what I was running, but yeah, no, I I was just kind of playing and kind of surprised me what worked and what didn't work. I thought it would be kind of more like an IndyCar style, how you want the bars, but it seemed kind of be the opposite for me anyway, how I liked my driving style. But yeah,
Doesn't seem like that opinion is too unshared amongst a number of other drivers I've gotten to talk to regarding this car compared to the IndyCar, or even real-world drivers for that matter. I believe it was Lockie Hughes made the comment of how much more agile this car feels compared to the IndyCar, and he was somewhat disappointed when he got to test drive that during one of the tests sometime during the off season here. But you're familiar with what we do here on P1. Podium Finish, microphone's all yours. Friends, family, sponsors, anybody you want to shout out, feel free to do so.
yeah, my mom and dad, obviously, of course. Everybody at P1 Broadcast for always doing a phenomenal job. Shout out to Ty for helping me do this. I had no clue what I was doing, so he was definitely the person to help me a little bit. So shout out to him. Shout out to Clendy. It's his birthday, so happy birthday, Clendy, and everybody at Rogue Racing for always being amazing people, and everybody at the Alliance Group also. Shout out to them guys.
Well, thank you, Hunter. We hope to catch you throughout the season here on P1 for the Indy NXT Road Series, and we'll catch you, I believe we're at Okayama next week if you have any interest in that, but good to see you out here.
Thank you very much, Jacob.
That will be third place finisher Hunter Engrav here tonight, and we will get Jarrett Corey on here shortly. We'll give Andre Castro his, actually, wait, Jarrett finished second. We can just get him up here now. We'll give Castro his due if he decides to make it on up here at the appropriate time. Jarrett Corey, Jacob Collins, P1 Broadcasting. You got me?
Yep.
Well, you almost held on to it, but Andre managed to just put his car in the right place at the right time and make that pass stick on the last lap. Kind of talk us through the race to get to that point and what you were kind of expecting having to do coming through the closing stages.
Yeah, so I guess to go all the way to the start, I was kind of hoping I could catch off Andre and sort of get him alongside of whoever was in P3 going into turn one and try to build at least a little bit of a gap. This track's very drafty, as we all know, so it's just sort of if you get out of the draft, you can get back in it very easily if push to pass. And at one point, I had like a 1.2 second gap, and Andre did just that, and I didn't really. I sort of did what I did at Sebring and sort of let him catch up to me. And so at the end, I had enough push to pass, and I was just sort of managing the gap. But at the end, he sort of went, like he started using the button and getting to me. And at that point, I felt like I kind of maybe had a bit less tire, and he was setting up his corner exits really well. So going into Canada corner, I mean, I outbraked him by quite a bit. I didn't feel like I went in super deep. I probably could break the a little bit earlier. I was just sort of expecting him to try to hang it around the outside, and I wanted to sort of get there and like, sort of, I guess, block him off. But he just managed to get underneath me, got to my outside, and held it around the outside of the second last corner. And then, I mean, inside of the final corner is where you want to be, and he was able to just slot right in front of me. So I'm a bit gutted I didn't manage to get that, but I mean, I know Andre's super good, so I mean, I held up pretty well, and yeah, and I did manage my push pass pretty well. I didn't really run out. It was more that he had the draft, plus he was on the button, and I was on the button too, but he was always going to close in on me a lot, and yeah, sometimes that's just the way it goes, especially Road America. And then we're all saving it to the end. So, I mean, I knew it would come down right to the end. So I was just hoping I would be able to hold on once he started really pushing.
Yeah, of course, Andre, holder of a Pro Series license, I believe, for F4, if I do recall correctly. So obviously, certainly no slouch in that, right? Definitely knows his way about navigating a draft battle. And this track's kind of, as you said, notorious for those being the way that the races are kind of run through and beaten and battled through. But being able to make two cars stick through the bulk of the closing stages of that final lap was certainly a wonderful thing to watch from the outset. I'm sure from the car it's a stressful moment in its own right, but being able to hold on to that car, make it through to a second place finish here tonight, certainly not a bad way to end the evening for you. If you've got any other thoughts and feelings on the race here tonight in terms of maybe how you tackle it a bit differently the races past, or just kind of navigating the draft was the biggest thing that you had to conquer tonight?
I mean, it's a little different because you have that push to pass, and you got that sort of. I like to think of it as like a 1 second window. I mean, I don't know exactly when the draft starts to kick in, but I sort of treat it as like 1 second behind. You're gonna start closing in at least a tiny bit, and so it makes it a bit more complicated. So it's kind of like a combination of like Sebring, Red Bull Ring from last season, as well as like you race the Indy Pro here when that was still in an official series, or the USF, where it's very drafty. But with this, you can sort of get back in it with the push to pass. So it sort of creates a interesting dynamic. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly stuff we saw a good bit through last season with some of those tracks with longer straightaways like Red Bull Ring, like Sebring, and certainly something you and I have experienced throughout the entire road to Indylander. And it's almost like that those cars are meant to train you for this. So it's good to hear that that kind of fits into that mold, if you will. You know what we do here, Jared. Podium finish, friends, family, sponsors. Anybody you want to shout out? Floor is yours.
Yeah, P1 Broadcast for continuing to do this. Yeah, that's all I've got.
Thank you, Jarrett.
See you
Nope.
next.
Keep going.
That's all I got to say. So I'll see you next week at Okayama.
We will certainly see you there, Jarrett. Appreciate you turning out. Thanks for coming on out here each and every week. We'll hopefully see you many more times up here on the podium here in Indy Next.
See ya.
And that will do it for Jarrett Corey, second here tonight. Oh, we do have Andre. We'll get him on up here. Glad to see he made it back to the P1 broadcasting booth. We'll get Andre up on the screen. We'll get his car stopped so we can make sure we get his machine on the screen here. Andre, Jacob Collins, P1 Broadcasting. You got me?
Sir, I got you.
Well, I think it's been a little while since we've seen you, but I want to say you picked up a win at some point during the last season we had here in Indy Next competition, but you got it done here again tonight. Took a last lap pass, a very ballsy one at that, on the inside heading into turn 14 after having to navigate on the outside lane through 13 there. Kind of talk us through how you stayed in it here tonight to pull out the victory here late.
Yeah, thanks. Was just trying to stay with Jarrett and using just enough push to pass kind of on the exits of the corners just to be able to get a run into the straight. And as long as I could do that, I could stay in the draft. And yeah, I lost the draft for a little bit, but managed to use a bit more push to pass than I wanted to kind of catch up. And actually, it almost helped me out because I think I was going to leave too much push to pass for the end. And then towards the end, I kind of started realizing, well, one lap around here is almost 2 minutes, but I'm not going to be on the button all 2 minutes, so I don't need 120 seconds left at the end. So probably under the last lap with like 70 or 80, and worked out. Just was able to get the runs at the right time. I mean, we came really close together like 2 or 3 times. I'm glad the iRacing net code held up there, and glad he played it clean and didn't push me off or anything like that. And yeah, just kind of got a run out of Canada and managed to hit the button there. So that actually helped me a lot more than I thought it would. But I exited Canada, and even in that short run up to the next corner, the bridge, under the bridge corner, like got the nose in front and managed to hold it around there. So yeah, fair play to Jared for racing clean, and yeah, it was a pretty fun final lap, and yeah, glad that net code kind of spared us there and we could race really, really close.
Yeah, we certainly saw a number of cars sideways, particularly through turn number 5 on that closing lap. Surely it was closer than maybe even we saw it a number of times throughout the course of that closing lap there. And obviously, push to pass seemed to play probably a big factor here tonight, maybe the most we've seen in at least a couple weeks here on the channel. How do you feel that kind of impacts the way you have to navigate the draft around here? Do you feel like maybe the draft window is a bit bigger than we're used to typically seeing here on iRacing? Obviously, oftentimes people kind of quoted around a second, maybe a second and a quarter. You feel like maybe with the push to pass that gets a bit bigger? Like, is there any thoughts you have on maybe how that kind of plays into your overall attack of a track like this with having so much straightaway to play with?
Yeah, well, I come from Radicals, which honestly, those are probably one of the draftiest cars in the service that have a decent amount of horsepower, just like these. So I'm used to it. I think obviously it's sort of a cat and mouse thing, because I think Jarrett could have countered my push to pass with his push to pass, but he wanted to save some till the end, and I think just generally being in the draft kind of helps you stay with him. I don't know how much he was using off the corners to try to keep me behind, but I didn't have to use too much to stay with him. So yeah, I think it's sort of a cat and mouse game because you don't really know how much the other guy's using. So I knew that he was probably gonna. I know he's experienced in these cars and he's probably gonna hold it till the end. So I just wanted to make sure I had enough for the end. So yeah, but again, like yeah, when he saw I was out of the draft, he could have used it to try to pull away and keep me from getting back in the draft. So I don't know. The push to pass definitely has a different element to it, but I was definitely comfortable in second, kind of planning my attack a little bit, and I wasn't really sure if I was going to get the opportunity that I wanted at the end, but I knew I had to give it my all at the end, and it worked out there.
Well, put it all out there you did. Unfortunately, you were able to come out with the win here tonight. Glad to see you back out here in Indy NXT competition. Hopefully we'll catch you more throughout the rest of the season. If you'd like to shout anybody out, friends, family, sponsors, microphone's all yours, Andre.
Yeah, just Guinness for sponsoring me this race. No, I'm just kidding. I love Guinness, and I found this livery like 10 minutes before the race, and first Guinness wins, and I'm going to look for some more Guinness liveries on some other cars. Thank you, P1 Broadcasting. Thanks, Jacob. And again, Jarrett, for clean racing and all the other drivers out there.
Well, you certainly picked the right track to sport the beer livery. The residents of Wisconsin sure do love them some alcoholic beverages from time to time. So you go maybe celebrate with one yourself here tonight, Andre.
That sounds good. I don't mind if I do, but yeah, I'll see you later, and thanks again for the broadcast.
Absolutely, Andre. Glad to have you out here once more. Andre Castro, your winner here tonight. Glad to get podium interviews from each of the steps here tonight. And I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in to What Was Next, What Is Next, What Was and Is Next, Indy NXT Road Series action here from Road America. We'll be back tomorrow night with the Oval Series from Motegi. Caleb Brashear has just joined the Andre Castro fan club. And I'd like to thank all those that do the difficult jobs all around the world that let us do all the fun things we do, like bring you Indy NXT action here on P1. Thank you for doing all the difficult things that you do each and every day. And once more, thank you everybody for tuning in. Have a good night. We'll catch you next time.